Attention, due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 4th episode of the Civil Gore podcast.
Yes, we made it.
We made it to 4 episodes.
And hopefully it's, well, I guess it could be. Maybe it's like Friday the 13th. It's the final chapter, but not really. And we'll do countless ones after that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm having too much fun recording these.
Yes, it is.
So we got a really packed show again tonight. And this time I'm going to be a little more energetic than last time because I think Brian and I were both jet lagged from watching the Oscars Sunday night.
Yeah, that was a late one, and then and actually I gotta say today I think I'm starting to get a cold. But I'm using the our good friend Slater from the Ride This One podcast. His technique of when he's not feeling good, he just medicates himself with hard liquor. So I pour myself a glass of 12-year-old Bunnahabhain Scotch, and I should be good to go though.
Very nice. I poured myself a glass of Coca-Cola Cherry Zero.
Oh, there's another way to go.
Not quite as nice, but
it might work.
Okay, so the first chop. Let's get right into it.
Yes.
So this week. Actually, last week I started watching the EXORCIST TV show, and I'm still a little behind the curve because I think this debuted maybe October of last year. And I'm only about 3 episodes in, so I can't really speak to the whole season, but man, it's pretty phenomenal. It's kind of follows the same format as The Exorcist in general. In other words, there's a young girl that's possessed. There's a kind of more experienced fatherly priest, and then there's a younger priest, but instead of The Exorcist, where the younger priest was doubting his religion and that kind of thing, this young priest actually does believe in demons and believes this girl is possessed, but he's having trouble getting the Catholic Church to buy into it. So it's kind of flips the script a little bit on the traditional Exorcist plot. But the effects are really good, very good horror for just primetime television. So if the season continues on just like the first 3 episodes, I think it'll be a really outstanding show. I don't know if it's going to be renewed or not because shows like that kind of have a hard time staying around very much. But definitely check that one out if it comes on Netflix or if you happen to have it on demand still.
Yeah, I have to check that out. I mean, you're 3 episodes ahead of me, so I have not watched any of it yet. But yeah, that actually sounds like a nice, probably good binge watching.
Yeah, I try to support any kind of horror on television just by default, just as a fan, and especially like supporting ones when they're so well done, like this one was. Yeah,
I mean, because to get, like you said, to get a good horror on prime time, it tends to be watered down a lot, and from what you said, it sounds like this one does a pretty good job of not doing that. So
yeah, absolutely. The other thing I watched last night actually was OUIJA, The Origin of Evil. And I had not seen the first OUIJA because it kind of got mediocre reviews. So I didn't really bother and just kind of forgot about it, never got around to it. But I love the trailers for this one. So when it hit Blu-ray, I picked it up. And it was outstanding. It's directed by Mike Flanagan, who's quickly becoming one of my favorite directors. He did Oculus, which I loved, and Hush, which I really loved. And he pulls off, it's got a very Conjuring, Insidious kind of vibe to it, but he has some really, really creepy sequences, some great jump scares, and it takes place in the 70s because it's a prequel to the first film, and he uses some film techniques like the title sequence is done in a 70s font, and he uses some little tricks like he puts the cigarette burns between reels. It's not overdone. He's not trying to make it look like it was actually filmed in the 70s, but he just gives these little nods to the filmmaking from that decade, and makes it really interesting. I really loved it.
Oh, cool. I definitely want to check those out. I actually own both Ouijas, and I also have the Oculus too, and I have not watched either of them, so I need to sit down and get a nice little Mike Flanagan binge session going, I guess.
Yeah, and Hush, I believe, is available on Netflix. So check all those out. Those are all great movies.
Nice. I will, actually. And so this, I actually got to watch a few things. This week I watched based on your glowing recommendation last week, I watched Castle Freak.
Halfway glowing.
Yeah, halfway. And yeah, it was exactly what you said. It was really kind of slow in the beginning, and it picks up. Very uncomfortable parts to watch of that movie. It's pretty gory. Definitely, it was nice to see it was nice to see a couple of people from obviously Reanimator in there, which was kind of fun. But yeah, it was definitely some cringing scenes.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird tone because I guess starting with the box art, it kind of seems like it, and especially knowing that these are the kind of the Reanimator people, you kind of expect some of it to be played for laughs or have a little bit of a comedy element, and it really doesn't. It's pretty dark.
Yeah, no, it was, and I ended up feeling really bad a lot of times for the Castle Freak guy. He really didn't. He didn't really have a choice of his lot in life in that movie.
Yeah, it's kind of a downer movie, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it was. But I was definitely glad I watched it. Though it was definitely interesting. And then I finally got around to seeing Split, which obviously I don't want to talk too much about it, other than just to say how much I enjoyed it and how I thought James McAvoy just was incredible in that.
Yeah, I liked it because I've always been an M. Night Shyamalan fan, but I hated some of those movies like The Lady in the Water, The Happening, and when he kind of went off the rails. And it's kind of disappointing because I really liked him, but it was getting harder and harder to defend him. And then now that he's put out The Visit and now Split, you can see that he's kind of making that comeback, and I'm really excited for him to kind of regain his former status.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, because I really like The Visit also. That was really cool. So it's like, yeah, that's 2 in a row for him, which that's a good sign.
And he did the I believe he produced maybe the Wayward Pines TV show.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, which my wife and I really enjoyed. So he's quietly been sneaking back onto the scene and making a name for himself again, which I'm really excited to see.
Yes, that's always good news when someone when a director you really like kind of goes off a little bit, but then starts to come back, which is with some really good stuff. Gotta always like that. And then I saw, although not horror, I saw Logan this weekend. But I have to say that it had, I think, more gore and kills than our first 4 episodes of this show combined in the movies that we picked. So it was pretty good. And the main reason I wanted to bring it up is because that was my first time going to see anything at an Alamo Drafthouse. I don't know if you guys, do you have that near you at all, or?
No, and I'm dying to go to one.
Yeah, because for anyone that doesn't know what it's like, they really take it's almost like a dinner theater type of level, but they theme a lot of stuff into the theater itself and the presentation of the movies. Like, I know I saw one advertisement for something they sponsored where they were showing Jaws. It was outdoors in a lake where everyone sat in inner tubes. So you kind of get the idea of the way they do it. And the one we went to is pretty new. It's the one in Brooklyn, and it's actually, what I liked about it is, you go in there, they have all these classic look of the cinema, and you walk in and you can actually order just dinner and beer and full mixed drinks right at the table, where you just kind of put this little card on the table in front of your seat. They come by and they kind of do it as inconspicuously as possible. They come take your order and bring it, and I gotta tell you, the food was phenomenal. I just had a hot dog and fries, and it was actually, but it was like, the hot dog was in like one of those nice big thick buns, and it had sauerkraut and stone grain mustard and this spicy red and green relish on it. So it was actually a good experience. And they had a massive list of local craft beers. So I assume that whatever area they're in, they kind of do that. And unfortunately, the bar itself was closed when we were there. We saw an early 12:30 show. But the bar there, it basically says House of Wax, and the entryway to the bar is filled with all these wax heads. So I definitely have to go back there at a later time, see something at night, and check that out, because I know they have a Nightmare on Elm Street 3 showing coming up, so maybe I'll try and go see that.
Oh man, I would love to have one of those around here.
Yeah, and there's actually 2 in distance that I can get to. The one in Brooklyn obviously is great because I can take the train, and then we can drink a lot of the beer and then still get back and not have to worry about driving. And another cool thing they had is throughout the whole theater, from every hallway you went down, had all these really cool retro movie posters. There were some good horror ones, which I actually took pictures of, and I put them on our Instagram, which is brand new, by the way. I was just going to mention that. We do now have an Instagram.
Go ahead and plug that.
Yeah. So we're getting more and more into the social media game here. I mean, we added our Instagram page, so hopefully any cool horror themed things we'll make sure we post on there. Like, I know, Tim, you're going to a horror con, I guess, in a couple weeks?
Yeah, we're going to go hit Carowinds for opening weekend, and it just so happens that in Rock Hill, which is where Carowinds is located, they're doing the Mad Monster Party Carolinas convention 2017. So we're going to go there and see some of the horror celebrities. I think Kane Hodder will be there, Tom Savini, some other miscellaneous ones that make the con circuit. But I'm looking forward to it. I just want to check out the vendors, and I haven't been to a horror specific con yet, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, they're fun. I used to go a lot of times to the Chiller Theater one, which is something that usually tours around the New Jersey area. And so the next one of those actually is in April, so I'm going to head to that one. So within the next month, I guess hopefully our Instagram page will get a nice big workout with some pictures that Tim and I will post there from the various cons that we go to.
Yeah, we'll have full reports from it as well, I'm sure.
Yes.
So that about wraps it up for the first chop, but we have quite a long list of dismemberment releases for March 14th.
Yes.
So kind of go through those. The first one, man, I don't know what this is. It's called Mondo Weirdo. It's a 3 discs and parentheses of Vampiros Sexos.
Yeah.
And it's a 3 disc set of Carl Anderson films, and I feel like I should know who that is, but I don't, so I'm sorry if I'm not a good horror fan.
I want to get to know him after when you read this list here.
Yeah, so it includes the following. It includes Mondo Weirdo, A Trip to Paranoia Paradise. Something called Vampiros Sexos, a.k.a. I Was a Teenage Zabadoing.
I mean, I guess, are there adult Zabadoings also? Is this thing teenage one?
I read that 3 times. I have no idea what that is, but it sounds amazing. And then a short film called What's So Dirty About It?
This, yeah. So I tell you though, I may have to just buy this set now, not knowing anything about it, other than these names.
I'm seriously considering it. Like, I feel like this is something I need to watch.
Yeah, I mean, at worst case scenario, you're ending up with Zabadoing on your movie shelf, whatever that is.
Yeah, it's a conversation starter.
Exactly, yeah. Well, whichever one of us gets this first and sees this first, we have to tell each other right away, I think. I gotta know what this thing is.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
The next one, some of these are kind of lame. Ascent to Hell 2014. Don't know what that is. It looks kind of stupid. Demon Seed 1977. I kind of want to watch this one. It's got Julie Christie, the great British actress, and it involves a supercomputer with AI which becomes obsessed. And I love watching computer stuff from the 70s.
Yes,
because it's always so primitive.
I wonder if there could be like a box, like a 2-pack with the Manitou in there for their computer scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see it from the morbid curiosity alone of how 1977 AI is depicted.
Yeah, right.
So that would be pretty funny. The next one on my list is one I'm very much looking forward to and is a must-buy, and that is Firestarter from 1984, and this is the Scream Factory Special Edition.
Oh, yeah, that's a no-brainer, I think, for purchasing.
Yeah, Firestarter was filmed in my hometown of Wilmington, North Carolina, and I can vaguely remember as a kid knowing that it was being filmed here, but of course I was too young at the time to really be into horror movies. But there's some other... Speaking of that, there's some other movies like Maximum Overdrive and Cat's Eye that were also filmed here that we'll have to go through at some point, so I can tell you some of the stories about those.
Oh, I didn't realize Cat's Eye was there. That's one of my favorites.
Cat's Eye was filmed here as well. In fact, one of my my school friends was in it briefly in a scene with Drew Barrymore.
Oh, cool.
The next on the list is, man, this is one I got to see too. Drive-In Massacre, 1977. And it involves a killer with a sword killing people in drive-in movies. But the best thing about this is on the poster, there's a disclaimer warning, and I have to read this verbatim. Warning. Drive-in Massacre has been deemed by an independent film board to be too terrifying for viewing by the average theater patron. For this reason, it is suggested that those of you with severe emotional disorders or chronic coronary dysfunction not see this movie. The risk is entirely yours.
You gotta love early promotion for movies like that.
I like how they say severe emotional disorders. If you only have a mild emotional disorder, it's fine.
Right, yeah, you should be fine for that movie, yeah. I mean...
And chronic coronary dysfunction. That just sounds rude.
And see, back then, that would play so well. But can you imagine someone doing that now? People would just laugh it out of the theater.
Yeah, or they'd be like, oh man, they're trying to be so 70s retro.
Yeah, like all the hipsters would come around and go, oh, we gotta see that now,
This other one looks interesting. The Man Who Could Cheat Death from 1959. In it, he apparently replaces glands from younger patients and puts them into his own body, and somehow that keeps him young.
That almost sounds like a Twilight Zone to me. There's something that could be a Twilight Zone.
I mean, 1959, it looks kind of... There's another... speaking of which, just reminded me, I don't know why, but it reminded me of... Have you ever seen X, the Man with the X-ray Eyes?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
That's a terrific movie. You definitely need to get that one. That is an awesome, awesome movie. But it kind of reminded me of that same style where they have like some scientist that's doing something crazy.
And that's so 50s right there. Those horror movies. That's with all that.
Yeah, exactly. But X, the Man with the X-ray Eyes, is really fantastic. So check that one out. This one was kind of funny. It's called Kill Game 2015. But what made it funny to me is if you look at the box art, it looks like somebody wearing a Michael Myers mask with a Mrs. Doubtfire wig on top of it.
I saw that when I was looking at the rundown, and I saw you write that. Of course, I immediately looked that up, and I don't think you could have been more dead on to what that looks like. And now I just have this weird twisted image in my head of seeing one of the original Halloween movies, and as Michael Myers walks in to stalk his kill, he just goes, "Hello," But
that's what it looks like. I can't help that they chose that.
It does.
I kind of want to watch it just because.
Exactly, but see, that's like genius now, because someone sat there and probably said, this kind of looks like Michael Myers and Miss Doubtfire wig. So you know what? Hey, let's put that on the box. You're gonna get someone to watch it because of that.
Yeah, they're gonna get us to watch it. We unfortunately are the kind of people that this box art works on.
Yes.
Because the more stupid and silly it is, the more Brian and I want to watch it.
Yes. Yeah, they definitely know what we... And now anyone that, obviously, if anyone's listening to this that's in the movie business that may be producing box art or titles, they're like, oh, all right, we know we got two. We put something stupid on there, yeah. So that'll be good.
Now, the next one is a rare combination of crazy awesome box art and quality credentials. So this is The Skull from 1965. I've never seen this one, but it's got Peter Cushing, and it's written by Robert Bloch. I mean, those are two superstars of horror. And the tagline is, "When the skull strikes, you'll scream." And it has like a hypnotizing skull in the front, but apparently it is the skull of the Marquis de Sade turns a man into a killer.
Interesting.
I guess he's like an archaeologist, or I think they described it. He's a collector of esoteric memorabilia or something. I don't know. It's got Peter Cushing.
Yeah,
so it's an automatic must watch.
Yeah, I mean, Peter Cushing already seals the deal. It's like pretty much he's one of those people that'll just kill it no matter what he does. So
yeah, so I may have to pick that one up. I love those 60s, mid 60s movies with Peter Cushing and those guys in it. Just awesome. Even the non-good ones are actually good.
Yeah.
So the theatrical releases, and we're doing the theatrical releases for when this episode drops, which is March 10th. The big one, of course, is Kong Skull Island.
Oh, and I can't wait to see that. I'm a big King Kong fan, back from when I was a kid. Basically, the original was one of my favorite movies, and one of the earliest movies that I just had to watch over and over again. So I don't know if this was in every area, but one of the local stations near me, every Thanksgiving would have a King Kong marathon where it would have Mighty Joe Young, even though that's not King Kong, but I guess it was an ape trilogy there. It started with Mighty Joe Young, then the original King Kong, and then Son of Kong. And there, I don't know how many years in a row, I would have to, no matter what we were doing for Thanksgiving, I would have to watch those, especially at least the King Kong. And so that was, I mean, to me, it's like, so I loved everything King Kong. And so now that I found out they're doing another one, obviously I was like stoked. I mean, I thought the Peter Jackson one was okay. I don't know. I think I expected a little bit more out of that. I mean, I did enjoy it, but this one looks pretty epic.
Yeah, I am also a huge King Kong fan. I love monster movies in general, and I was always a big fan of the original. I even liked is it 1977?
I think
can't remember.
Yeah. I can't believe I forgot that one. Yes, that one.
The remake. There was a Dino De Laurentiis one that was filmed here. Another one that was filmed here. That I can't remember the name of. King Kong Lives, maybe.
Yes. With Linda Hamilton was in that one.
Yeah, I believe that one was filmed here because the movie studios had like the big Kong hand or the big Kong head or something at one time that you could see as you were driving past the studios. And I actually like Peter Jackson's take on it pretty well. Definitely looking forward to this one because it looks like it has a lot of the giant creatures and stuff besides Kong.
Yeah.
Which that was one of my favorite parts of Peter Jackson's, is it showed all the dinosaurs and stuff.
Yes, I did like that element. And this, supposedly, he's, it's funny. I was reading mixed things on this about why they made him, supposedly he's now 100 feet, at least 100 feet tall in this one, which was much bigger than he was in Peter Jackson, which I think he tried to stay to the original, which was like, 25 feet tall.
Right.
And, a lot of people were thinking that it was because, they're teasing that there's a King Kong Godzilla coming out. Again, another version of that. I don't know if you saw the original, which was exactly what you would expect from the time period. But I actually saw people that was working on the films. They said that's not why they did it. They just wanted a bigger scope for King Kong in this.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. The audiences want something bigger and bigger and better.
Right. I mean, you want to see that,
goes on.
especially if you've seen like movies like, Cloverfield and the Godzilla movies. It's all about being this size, and Pacific Rim. The kaijus. I guess they're just the epic size. That's what you want to see when you go to a theater, I think. So I think making him so big, and like you see even in the posters, they teased his size on how huge he is.
Yeah, and like when people were criticizing the Kong attraction down at Universal Studios because of the, who cares about King Kong anymore? And I'm like, I care about King Kong. I love that stuff. Like, I still love that IP.
Right, and I think people forgot that Skull Island was coming out when they said that. They were like, well, why are they coming out? They haven't had a Kong movie in years. And I was like, well, you realize that there's another one coming out. And it literally, it's Skull Island, Reign of Kong. The movie's Skull Island. So Universal hit it perfectly, so I don't know why people had a problem.
I definitely got to get down there and ride that thing.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard mixed reviews on it, but you know what? To me, if it's King Kong, I'm gonna go experience it anyway. So,
yeah, who cares? So, I forgot to put in the rundown that I also watched Frailty.
Oh yes,
a couple of nights ago, because this is our Bill Paxton tribute episode.
Yes,
and. So, a little confession here. The movie we're covering doesn't really feature a lot of Bill Paxton.
No, it's very light on the Paxton.
Yeah, he's in it maybe 5 minutes, but there's a reason we picked it over Frailty or Near Dark or one of those films, was because I felt like those movies a lot of people have already seen and have talked about at length. But the movie that we ran across on IMDb called Night Warning is a very early film, one of his first films, in fact, from 1982. And it looked intriguing because apparently this movie is hard to find and hard to track down. I don't know that it's ever made it to DVD, much less Blu-ray.
No, and well, I think I saw it there was a DVD early version of it, but it also is tricky because it was released as a different title, which we'll get into in the description of it. There was another title for this movie, and so I'm wondering if it was released in other countries under that title, and so maybe there was some confusion. So who knows? But we'll get to that. But yeah, this was not an easy movie to watch.
So that kind of intrigued me over watching these movies, and plus Frailty. Just to go into that just a little bit, that was one of Bill Paxton's few directing credits, and it's a phenomenal movie. if you haven't seen it before, and I won't go into any spoilers at all because it's a movie you need to watch without spoilers. It involves a dad who's played by Bill Paxton, and he's raising 2 boys. And one night, he apparently has this vision that God has told him that he is going to be one of God's chosen warriors to slay demons. And these demons are hiding out as ordinary people. And so he tries to convince his 2 sons to start murdering, or as he calls it, destroying these demons. And one son is young enough that he wholeheartedly believes whatever his dad tells him. And the other son is a little more skeptical. He kind of doesn't even believe in God and religion at all. So it's got a very interesting dynamic at play and kind of leaves you guessing, is he really seeing this for real, or is this something he's all made up in his mind? Great movie. Definitely go see it if you haven't seen it yet. Widely available. Check it out.
Yeah, that one's a lot easier to find. I think it's on Shudder actually now.
Yeah, it's got terrible box art though.
Yeah.
Like I would not, if I saw that movie just the cover from it, I would never watch it because the box art is just horrendous. But
see, there's someone that doesn't know Tim and I who made that box art.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, it's got a young Matthew McConaughey in it. Great movie. So, Night Warning was originally released. I guess it was originally released under this title. I'm still a little confused about it.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. It says a lot. If you look up, I was looking for research on this, and a lot of people, they don't even know the origin of how this movie became a movie. It seems like.
Yeah, yeah, it's called. An alternate title was Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker, which makes me laugh every time I say it. I don't know why.
Yeah, because you think of like, the Butcher, the Baker, the Candlestick Maker, old children's song. And so that's what's funny. It's like, but I got to tell you, that would have been a funnier title for this because that would have made me want to see it if I knew nothing about it, I think.
Yeah. And what's funny is that title has nothing to do with the movie.
No.
And neither does Night Warning.
Neither of them, right.
Like, Night Warning is the most generic title you could ever come up with. And it has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with this movie.
No, you're right. And I mean, and the funny thing is the other, the Butcher Baker one has at least you could probably, with a big stretch, kind of get to that. But even then, it's like, like I said, it's a stretch. But Night Warning, yeah, well, when I was watching it, I expected it just by the title. I said, "Oh, maybe it's going to be like one of those suicide prevention hotlines, and they get a call or something, because you've seen those movies, that plot done a bunch of times." I thought I expected something like that actually.
And this one, it's really odd. This one plays like a made for TV movie. Like it has that same vibe to it, but then it's definitely not a made-for-TV movie.
And it's funny. Why the fact that you said that, while I was doing research, so it was directed by someone named William Asher. And if you look at his directing credits, I'm going to go through some. I just pulled up the IMDb page on this. You may see why you get that vibe. It looks like his last movie was 1990 that he did, which is a TV movie called Return to Green Acres, based on the show. God. Yeah, he did. And then, I guess he was just about rehashing everything. Before that, he did I Dream of Jeannie 15 years later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he did. He directed 5 episodes of the Harper Valley PTA TV series, not the movie. He did the Private Benjamin TV series. Night Warning was done right before that, but before that, he did the Bad News Bears TV series. So, and he actually did a couple episodes of Dukes of Hazzards. He did 27 episodes of Alice. He did Bewitched, and actually the sequel, Tabitha, he did some of those. So if you look, his history is all in television and a bit of comedy, no less.
Yeah, and even the title and ending fonts all have a TV quality to them. It's very strange.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny. I think you had said that right before I watched it, that it had a kind of a made-for-TV vibe. And as soon as it started watching, I'm like, I totally see that.
Yeah. So anyway, this stars Jimmy McNichol, Susan Tyrrell. I guess that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Bo Swenson, Marsha Lewis, Julia Duffy, Britt Leach, Steve Easton, and Bill Paxton in a young punk role that's reminiscent of Chet.
Yes.
From Weird Science.
And I was gonna originally this was gonna be our trivia question, but I came up with a better one. So, but did you notice there's actually a Weird Science connection with Britt Leach and Bill Paxton? We're both in Weird Science, as obviously you know who Bill Paxton played, older brother Chet, but Britt Leach played Gary's father in that movie.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, because I always remember that because he was like, who the hell's Gary? And that was one of my favorite sequences, that whole thing with his parents, and the mother's like, you remember Gary? And that whole thing. So that actor is always like, every time I see him, I think of that. So I was pretty excited when I saw him in this. I'm like, oh. And then I said, wait, and Bill Paxton. It's a Weird Science reunion. So, well, actually, before Weird Science, but still, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, and one of my original trivia question was a role that Susan Tyrrell played, and I had no idea, she was Midge in Big Top Pee-wee.
Oh, wow.
You remember the little tiny woman?
Yes.
Midge?
Oh, Chris Christopherson's wife, yeah.
Yeah, which had one of my favorite lines. She's like, Midge made you a little something to eat.
Oh,
something like that. Made you a little something for breakfast.
Oh,
It's like literally a little breakfast.
That is, I want to say that's an underrated movie.
It is underrated. I watched it, I watched it when the new Pee-wee came out on Netflix, the new Pee-wee movie.
Oh, right.
I watched Big Top Pee-wee right before that, and I remember I didn't really like Big Top Pee-wee back in the day when it was released, because I loved Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's still one of my favorite movies.
Right, I think that, yeah.
And it was kind of a letdown, but it does have its own charm.
Right, if you don't see it as a sequel to Pee-wee's Big Adventure, it has its own, like, I remember one of my lines that cracks me up is, it's so stupid of a line, but when he's eating, he's sitting there having lunch with Penelope Ann Miller's character, I forgot her name in it, and he's just like, she gives him an egg salad sandwich, she's like, how is it? And he's like, egg salad-y! And it's just so obscure, but it gets me every time. I don't know why. So it's,
I don't know how we got on the topic of
we kind of veered off a little bit, but
so anyway, we opened this movie with the mom and I guess it's her boyfriend.
I thought it was the father. At this point I just assumed it was the parents some level.
Yeah, the parents. It was kind of confusing. Okay, so the parents are leaving. They're going to visit their grandma and grandpa out in, it seemed like California or the West Coast somewhere. So it seemed like quite a distance.
Right, and actually, it's funny you said that, because when they're traveling there, I got that California vibe, because that road they're going on along the side of the mountain, that reminds me of a road that I used to take, Route 17, when I go down to Santa Cruz from where I used to live. Windy that.
The same road, anytime they're going to have a car crash,
pretty much
it's going to be on that road.
Yes, exactly.
So they leave the kid behind with Aunt Cheryl. And of course, this kid needs an Oscar for this scream he lets out.
He does.
His parents drive off. It looked real.
Right.
I was like, "Geez, give that kid an Academy Award."
They must have whispered by saying, "You were never seeing your parents again," right before they shot that scene, and then said, "Go."
Yeah. I mean, it was. I don't know what they did to that kid to get that reaction, but kudos. So what follows is got to be one of the best car crash death sequences in movie history.
Oh my God, was it ever, right?
It goes on forever. So let me kind of give you the sequence of events. And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're driving down this long, windy road. Dad realizes that, oh my God, he has no brakes. So, of course, he's frantic. What do people do when they don't have any brakes? They keep pressing the brake pedal.
As in case they're magically going to come back.
Yeah, they're magically going to go. So he's weaving through traffic, hurling down this road. I guess this car has no emergency brake on it.
Yeah.
And he's just going and going, swerving around cars, everything. Well, finally, he gets up behind a logging truck. And instead of swerving around it, he just decides to plow into the back of the thing. And, of course, a log comes off of the truck and decapitates him. And
that was so well done, especially for the time.
It was brilliant. I mean, his head just explodes in a shower of mush as this log comes barreling through the car.
Yeah, and I think I let out like and I was watching this by myself at the time, and I think, my wife, she'd gone to bed, and I said, I gotta watch this, I'm gonna watch this tonight for the podcast, and I almost like, went to put my hand in my mouth. Like I might have screamed loud. I was like, whoa, I did not expect it like that.
It rivals the Omen decapitation scene.
Yes.
In terms of like, whoa. But anyway, so you think, well, that would be the end of it, right? The car stops and he's decapitated. No, it keeps going. So now Mom is frantically trying to grab a hold of the steering wheel because the car is still going.
Right, I know that didn't stop it.
That didn't stop it at all. So now she's reaching over trying to grab the steering wheel. So she wrestles the car off of a cliff. The car rolls down an embankment, rolls off of this cliff, smashes into the ground, and we're done. Wait!
Nope.
Nope. We're not done yet. Now the car has to miraculously burst into flames.
Of course.
In a giant fireball.
And I could have sworn, I think that was one of the clips they used for, remember that skit on Saturday Night Live, Toonces, the driving cat? Where the car used to always go off the edge and into that fiery cliff. I could have sworn that was what they used on one of them.
If it wasn't, it was pretty darn close.
Yeah, and it's horrible. I mean, this after this horrific scene, I think maybe it was just my way of coping with, wow, that was pretty intense. Like, that's what I thought of right away. I'm like, hey, that's just like Toonces,
The whole sequence was so, like, simultaneously funny and well done that I had to watch it 3 times back to back.
Yeah, I think I rewatched the part because I wanted to see the way they did that, see if I could. I was like almost looking for it to be. I said, "Oh, it was so badly done," but it was so well done. I could not find anything wrong with that scene.
And this whole movie is like that. It has sequences that are just so over the top and so, I don't want to say cheesy because they're so well done.
Right. They're not. It should have had nothing but cheesy things in it, but they did it so well that you had to I'd almost give it like an applause.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny. So we cut to 14 years later. So the little boy's grown up, and he's now grown up with his aunt, who he refers to as his mom.
He does, but he calls her Aunt Cheryl to other people.
Right. So he's aware that that's not his real mom, but he still calls her mom because she's raised him.
Right.
And so she's kind of digging through his stuff, and she finds a generic movie condom.
Yeah, exactly. It's the condom that is in every movie when there needs to be a condom.
Yeah, but here comes one of the, you immediately know this movie's gonna be weird.
Oh yeah.
Let me start off by saying there's some weird homoeroticism throughout this whole movie because the kid tends to have his shirt off or either be in a tank top 90% of the movie. Right, and
there's I mean, as you'll see there's a bit of an Oedipal theme going on here, and just there's some weird stuff going on here.
Yes, but anyway, so she goes in to wake him up, and she's stroking his back, and she's purring like a kitten.
Yeah,
it was weird. She's like.
And it was seductively done. It was like she was trying to wake him up for a morning quickie. I mean, it was just...
Yeah, it's very incestuous vibe. So right from the start, this lady is a little cuckoo.
Yeah.
And so we get the vibe right away that she's jealous of any girls that Billy mentions. He mentions his girlfriend Julie, and she gets you can tell she's really jealous. She didn't like finding that condom.
Right, knowing where that condom is eventually going to be going.
Yeah, exactly. So then we cut to basketball practice. So Billy is a basketball star.
Right.
And his girlfriend is played by Julia Duffy.
Yes, which everyone probably recognizes from the show Newhart, which was her big role.
Right, I guess she's the class yearbook photographer or something like that.
Yeah, she's got one of the total giant camera. It's bigger than her whole head.
Yeah, we're also introduced to his coach, which plays an important role later.
And I gotta tell you, I like that coach. He was one of my favorite characters. He was just
he was really good.
He was well done, and that actor has been in some other things. If you look at his IMDb page, but one of the things I recognized him from, which is so obscure, he was maybe in this for about 2 minutes. He was in Up in the Air with George Clooney and Anna Kendrick. He played the old guy that got fired and that Anna Kendrick fired, and she kind of startled him, and I always feel bad for him in that scene. So I like recognized him right away, so it was pretty odd to see that. I mean, I guess I'm glad he's still working. So he gets fired and up in the air, but obviously in real life his career goes on for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we're also introduced to Bill Paxton.
Yes,
and Bill Paxton plays the classic a-hole jock, arrogant bully. And he has a great little scene where he kind of gets in a confrontation with Billy.
Yeah, and he's classic Paxton in that. That's the Bill Paxton that at least probably most of the people from our generation like really found, like the Chet Bill Paxton.
And it's kind of funny because Bill Paxton kind of went from playing these like real a-hole guys, and then as his career went on, he like played like the really nice guy.
Yeah, the guy with a heart,
Yeah, so it's kind of funny how it was, but he has a little confrontation there, and we find out that Billy has an opportunity to get a scholarship in Denver, so presumably he's gonna move away from Aunt Cheryl, which is a big no-no.
Yeah, now can I ask you? I apologize for my ignorance if this is a comment. I'm not huge into college sports. Is Denver a big basketball school? It sounded like it was. To me, it was. They were treating it like it was North Carolina or. NC State or UCLA, one of these big basketball schools. I don't.
No, but I mean, I guess if you were getting a scholarship, it didn't really matter.
Right.
It's a college basketball scholarship is probably pretty huge, no matter what the level of the team is. But no, unless maybe they were back then.
Right.
But not that I know of.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. In the end, it doesn't matter. It's just, I was like, they kind of, she was like, wow. I think she even said, like, wow, Denver. Or something. But, so I was like, oh, maybe I don't know that they have this big program. I mean.
No, not that I'm aware of. But there's probably, like, fans in Denver right now going,
I know.
Screaming at the podcast.
I know. That's it. I'm writing this in. They don't know what they're talking about.
They've just lost a listener.
Yeah.
So. One thing we've neglected to mention is Billy had called the TV repairman back when repairmen came over to actually fix TVs.
Right.
So I must confess, when I first watched this clip, I had kind of halfway paying attention, and so I had to go back and rewatch it. And so she tries to seduce this TV repairman. At first, when I wasn't paying attention, I thought he had come on to her, but actually no, he doesn't want anything to do with it.
Right, and it kind of jumps right into it. It's like she's just all of a sudden in this I guess, as far as Aunt Cheryl's mind goes, a seductive outfit, which just looks like a regular nightgown or a muumuu or something or whatever they call those things.
Yeah, like if you find housewives seductive.
Yeah, So she just you're right. I think I rewound it just to make sure I didn't miss something because it kind of came on so suddenly.
Yeah, so he's like, lady, you're crazy. And she's just like putting the moves on him. And he just keeps fending her off. Finally, she just gets mad. And I think he calls her he might call her a bitch or something. Yeah, it says something. He gets mad at because she just won't stop. And she just grabs a kitchen knife and just stabs him to death. Yeah. I don't know why that's funny. But
it was because it was so obscure. I mean, she's obviously unhinged at some level. But at that point, you don't really expect her to be a murderer.
No, this is like, 15 minutes into the movie?
Yeah. I mean, she goes from, purring on her nephew's back and getting all jealous, which you think, okay, so she's a little clingy.
There's no build-up.
Yeah, no, definitely.
There's no build-up.
Yeah, there's no murderous indications from the beginning there, so.
But about this time, Billy walks in, so he kind of sees the tail end of this attack. And so, of course, he's freaking out. And then, of course, the neighbors show up.
Yes. Oh, and I love her. Wait, Marge is her name. Which is pretty much everyone's neighbor in movie history. There's always a Marge.
His name Marge, yeah. But I love this scene. So Aunt Cheryl goes to hug Marge. And she's got, her hands are just covered in blood. And she just smears the blood all down the back of Marge's shirt. And that had to be like a one-take shot.
Yeah, she's getting it everywhere and like all over Marge and it's the poor Marge,
Poor Marge. So immediately Aunt Cheryl goes into cover-up mode and she's telling Billy, "You saw him try to rape me. He tried to rape me." And so she's trying to spin this as a self-defense claim. So when the cops show up, they're not quite buying it.
No.
So they're interrogating Billy, who Billy to his credit, he's defending his aunt.
Right.
He doesn't really know. And of course, who would expect? You wouldn't expect him to think his aunt just went crazy and killed a guy for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, there was no motive. There was no, anything that would lead him to believe that other than being a little clingy.
Yeah, so he knows that he didn't see the guy try to rape her. He came in a little bit too late for that. But he's given her the benefit of the doubt. So that's what he's telling the cops.
Right.
And this is where the cop, we first get introduced to the cop, Carlson.
Yes.
And, man, this guy's a grade A jerk.
Yeah,
and
he's, if there's unlikable characters in movies, this guy has got to take the cake. There's not one redeeming factor about this guy.
Yeah, we come to find out he's racist, he's homophobic, he's chauvinistic, sexist, about any derogatory term you could call a white man.
Yeah,
that's probably what he is.
He to the point of where it just gets worse and worse throughout the film. You just find out more and more deplorable characteristics about this guy, and the fact that he's like, I assume he's the chief of police. He's definitely the head guy because he's bossing around everybody there. So
yeah, and he's in charge.
Yeah, based on his character, I can't see him being in a movie today. I can't see that.
No, and that's another thing. Like, he gets into some really harsh homophobic language.
Yeah,
calling Billy the fag and all this stuff. I mean, just laying it down, and it gets like, I'm not sure this movie would fly today.
No,
at all.
Yeah,
like you could.
Yeah, there's no way they could get that going.
No, not even showing that he's a bad character. The stuff he was saying, I don't think would even fly.
Right, because I don't think it's even it was the nature of it, the way it was so callous. It wasn't just that he was that type of a racist and a homophobic guy. It was just no compassion or anything. The way he was just dropping these lines and treating people in it, there's just no way. I can't see it being put that way on a screen today.
Yeah, even as a villain,
right?
It wouldn't fly.
No, yeah, it's beyond. Yeah.
But anyway, he wants Billy to take a polygraph, which Aunt Cheryl steadfastly refuses.
Right. Which
obviously.
In reality, that's funny. I saw that. In reality, he would have been fine on a polygraph because he didn't see anything different. So he would have basically said, "I saw what I saw. I came in. I saw the blood all over the place. My Aunt Cheryl told me what happened. Well, who am I to not believe it?"
Well, I think she had already kind of boxed him into a corner of saying that he saw the guy rape her or try to rape her.
Oh, right,
so
right.
That would have come out of the polygraph that he didn't actually see.
That's
it,
true.
That's true. Down on her story.
Right. That's right. Okay.
So meanwhile, she tells Billy not to go into the attic, and of course he does. And
this made me laugh. This scene.
Yeah, so he ends up dropping this box, and she flips out. There's a picture of Billy's mother's old boyfriend in it. And she goes absolutely ape shit on him.
Yeah, she's not very stable.
No, and man, hats off to Susan Tyrrell because she does an outstanding job in this role. I mean, you honestly believe she is wacko.
Right. She, literally frightening in this movie.
Yeah, she is terrific.
Yeah.
So, the Carlson, the head cop, he ends up. This was kind of a weird coincidence,
right? To me it was almost like a little too coincidental, but
kind of contrived. But he finds a ring from the dead TV repairman that has these initials on it, and he kind of puts two and two together and realizes that somehow puts two and two together. I don't know where he got this.
Yeah, I really don't know. I almost think they had another scene that they cut out or something. I don't get where he.
Yeah, but he ends up confronting the coach and basically accuses the coach of having a gay affair with this TV repairman.
Right.
And he's right.
He's right about it. Yeah, that part he's right about. His instincts were right at that point. But
yeah. And so, he basically tells the coach, again, in another very uncomfortable scene, you're going to resign or I'm going to tell everybody, what's going on here.
Right. So you obviously know, at that point you realize this cop is just going to be, pardon my, he's just a dick. He really is. He's not going to hear anything else. and he's got his mindset of what happens, and that's it.
So now we start delving more into Aunt Cheryl's craziness.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
built a freaking shrine in the basement. Or, I'm sorry, was it the basement or the attic?
I think that might be the basement.
That might have been the
Right,
basement.
yeah.
Because she's building the loft in the attic.
Right,
but-
the loft in the attic.
So she's got a shrine to the... And this is where I was confused, too. Was it the old boyfriend or the dad?
That's what I first I thought it was the father. As you go on, you kind of get more of a thing that it was the boyfriend and not the father. But in all honesty, you know what? The only image of the father I have is him getting his head knocked off by a log.
And you can't tell what his face looks like when it's
Yeah.
smushed into a log.
Yeah, so you don't really see his face for very long in the movie, so it could have been anybody at that point. But
And they all look the same. Like, they looked identical.
right. So, you don't really know. So, you assume it's the father. At first, at that point, I'm like, okay, maybe she's got some weird thing with her brother, too, But it turns out that's not even her brother. It was I guess his mother was the sister, so... There was the familial relationship there, so at that it's really not clear actually at that point.
So Carlson is the bad cop, but there's a good cop, and his name is Cook.
Right, and that's the weird science father guy who I liked him in this. He was pretty good.
Yeah, and so you have to. Carlson's got his mind set on that Billy is the one that actually did the murder.
Right, he
believes,
comes up with that surmise because there's a love triangle he puts together in his head.
Billy, he's got this whole idea that Billy's a homosexual and that he killed a TV repairman and that Aunt Cheryl's covering for him.
Right, because we should say, too, Billy had a really good, his coach was an awesome guy. He was really pushing Billy to get the scholarship, and he's really good to him, almost like a father figure to him at some levels you get. And he's just a really good guy, this coach. And so I think that's another reason that led to Carlson getting this whole, thing twisted in his head,
But he comes over the house and in another hilarious scene, Aunt Cheryl freaks out on him and chases him out of the house with a crowbar.
Yeah. Yeah, at that point
so,
you figure, okay, you know what? This is probably, that one we saw was probably not her first murder or violent act at that point.
Yeah, I would put Aunt Cheryl, and it's too bad this movie has kind of been lost to history, because I would put Aunt Cheryl up there with Kathy Bates in Misery, with Mrs. Voorhees.
Oh,
in terms
yeah,
of
actually.
crazy women killers, and she deserves to be right on up there.
Right, and talk about a combo movie they could have done, like Aunt Cheryl and Annie from Misery. What a like a Freddy vs. Jason, but with the like that version.
Yeah, and you don't see women killers all that often, but man, she is a golden standard for crazy women.
Oh yeah, I'd put Aunt Cheryl up there with the best of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we get to the next Bill Paxton scene, and this one again, you kind of wonder. I thought Bill Paxton would play a bigger role in this, but there's some reason for him to come back into the picture.
Yeah,
but he doesn't really. This is kind of his last scene, I believe.
Well, I think he's in some of the shots in the games of basketball, but that's it.
Yeah, but no real interaction. So anyway, he starts harassing Billy about the coach and the
right, because I guess it comes out now that the coach is gay and he's
he's kind of insinuating that Billy and the coach had something going on.
Right, I think he was always jealous. You definitely tell Bill Paxton's character was jealous of Billy for being so good at basketball.
Yeah, so Billy pours milk on Bill Paxton's head, and I had to rewatch this scene a couple times because you could see Bill Paxton closes his eyes in anticipation of the milk being poured.
Yeah,
and he doesn't get it up there in time, so Bill Paxton opens his eyes to make sure he's getting ready to pour it, and then he pours it. So you could see you could definitely see there's a slight error on his part where he kind of misjudged the timing.
Yeah, Bill Paxton definitely got better. As his years gone on.
That was not his finest moment. No. I just thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, no, that whole scene was just funny to begin with. I mean, that he just randomly, in these two jocks, and the first salvo in this battle is him pouring milk on his head.
Yeah. So we get some more. I won't go into great detail, but we get some more about Carlson believing in this gay love triangle thing, which I even messaged Brian because I was like, when did this movie go off the rails into rampant homophobia? Because it takes a left turn into gay, anti-gay stuff really quick. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, and it's you have no indication of that from the beginning. You just think it's going to be, okay, crazy aunt, crazy this, and then, and even when they first brought it up, I said, oh, okay, that's just going to be a funny little, like, misdirection that he thinks is some corny, like, homophobic cop's going to come up with a stupid thing. But I did not think they were going to carry this thing through the rest of the picture.
Yeah, it's really kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Carlson goes and I keep wanting to say Carlton from Fresh Prince.
Right. I can't see that guy doing the Carlton dance. I'll tell you that. That would be a real weird change of that.
Yeah, so Carlson goes and visits Julie at this time. Now he's questioning her.
Right. Oh, this was one of my favorite sequences. As much as I hate this guy, he kind of made me laugh in this sequence where he goes, "Are you making it?" What a talk about a period of, what's next? Like, making whoopee. That's like the line,
whoopee.
And so the fact, and it just, for some reason, that part cracked me up. As much as I hate this Carlson character, that one gave me a good chuckle, at least, because it's such a stupid line. It's like, yeah.
So we get the sequence where the aunt barges in and orders Julie to leave the house. She gets in an argument with Julie. And I forgot to mention that Cook finds out that the TV repairman was actually married at one point. So he kind of brings this up to Carlson and says, hey, maybe this guy's not in a gay love triangle. He was married at one time.
Right. And, I think that was, one, it was apparently the truth, but also I think that was, again, his protective nature over Billy. That's his star athlete student, and he knows he's got a big career. He doesn't want him getting caught up in any kind of stuff,
Yeah, and God bless Cook at this point, because he's really on the trail. He thinks something's up with Aunt Cheryl.
Right, he was the first to go in on that.
Yeah, and so he reveals a very interesting rumor that back when 14 years ago, when Billy's parents died, there was a rumor that the brakes were tampered with, which we kind of all suspected.
Right.
After we found out how crazy Aunt Cheryl was.
Yeah,
but Cook is on tour at this point.
Right, and that's where the Carlson just shows how bad he is when he comes up with that. He goes, I don't even want to hear that. I don't want you doing it on company time either. You want to do that stuff, you do it on your own. Like he knew he was onto something, but he didn't want to hear it. He was convinced he had it, and that was it.
No, yeah, he had his case. He was going to get Billy no matter what.
Right, and he was just, because he's, he was so homophobic, he's like, that's the case, that's what it is. Basically case closed. And he was just going to go, almost like he was keep continuing the case to harass them, where his mind was already decided. He was not doing investigative stuff at that point. He just wanted to needle him, I think.
Well, and also he believes Billy's gay, and he's out to get gay.
Right, that's another thing. Yeah, because Julie didn't want to admit that they were making it. Right. Which you find out, of course, in the typical. This is where it goes right back to classic horror, because you do get that scene of them making it.
Yeah, exactly.
And did that scene remind you a little bit? I wrote it down in the notes. It reminded me a little bit of Halloween, like the opening shot of Halloween a little bit, where there's someone watching them kind of through the window, and Billy goes down to get a drink, and like someone's kind of like almost the camera's panning around with him as if it's someone watching.
Yeah, it did kind of have that feel to it.
Yeah, it's definitely not as epic of a shot as in Halloween, but it was that's what it reminded me of. So
yeah, so now all of a sudden Aunt Cheryl has a change of heart, and she's being real nice, and she's telling Billy, you know what, you go get that scholarship, everything's fine. Here's some milk and cookies that are totally not poison.
Right, and now you could be the most aloof person in the world, and if you don't see something coming that's fishy with these milk and cookies.
Yeah, so Billy goes to his basketball game, and he's lighting things up, and then all of a sudden he passes out, and everybody's running to him concerned. So obviously there was something in the milk and cookies. She's drugged him, and when he wakes back up,
talk about creepy.
He's in the attic, decorated from with baby and toddler toys from him when he was a little boy.
Right. The first thing I noticed was that thing that every child had from like probably the 70s through the 90s, that little like plastic like ring game where it was like the rings of different colors were on a little plastic thing that the babies would
Oh
put that on.
yeah, my kids have
Right.
had one of those.
Yeah, like, that was the classic baby toy. It was, and I was like, oh wow, okay, she has lost it if she's got that decorated in his room. It's one thing to maybe had like maybe a toy robot from when he was a kid that he was fond with, but you're putting infant toys and
oh yeah, they're
toddler toys up there.
She's completely off her rocker at this point.
Yeah.
And so Billy wakes up enough that he can kind of go snooping around again and finds a note. And I can't remember what the note said.
That's where I got confused. I think it turned out to be a birth certificate, right? Was that the birth certificate that he found at that point?
It might have been.
Right. So he finds a birth certificate basically showing that Aunt Cheryl is his mother, actually. And not his aunt.
So there's your twist.
Yeah, and I did not catch that in the viewing. I caught that when I was trying to read up on it. I was reading a summary of it, and that's where it said it. I'm like, oh, so that's what it was, because it really wasn't super clear. So, I mean, even now that I'm saying it, I'm wondering if maybe that was misinterpreted too. But I mean, as you find out going on, it's what happens. But, so, yeah. So I assume that's where but that's right, I guess, when she comes in. Right when he finds that, right? And then...
Yeah, and then another uncomfortable scene where she looks like she's just going to start making out with him.
Yeah, I mean...
it's so creepy.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I really do, like, there's so many uncomfortable moments in this, even though it seems weird to say this, but it was like, it's an enjoyable film because it's got so many great moments in it, but there's so many uncomfortable moments, too.
Yeah, well, the performances are really good. I mean, Billy's not a great actor.
He's typical,
but
whatever he is,
but the older actors are really, really good.
Right, yeah, Billy's like the generic teen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing...
Yeah, kind of the Luke Skywalker.
Right, like wide-eyed.
Aunt Cheryl, I was going to the basketball
game.
Yeah,
exactly. Oh my God, that is a good comparison. Yeah, you're right. You could totally say that could be, he could have been, Mark Hamill could have played that. Early Mark Hamill could have played that role.
Yeah, so we find, again, more led on that, as if we didn't know already, Aunt Cheryl's crazy. She's talking to the shrine, and we see a pile of bones and all this stuff.
Right, and she's got that epic jewelry box that's...
Yeah.
Looks like a mini version of the Ark from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, but this is... Oh, man, poor Billy. Poor naive Billy.
Yeah.
He decides to send Julie in to distract Aunt Cheryl.
Yeah.
After all that Julie and Cheryl have been getting in these fights, he's going to send her in to distract her. And Julie obviously has reservations because she's like, she is not going to talk to me.
Yeah, what do you... I was sitting there watching that, I'm like, what a... moron Billy is. Why would he send his girlfriend into this maniac?
But she does it anyway.
Yeah, you could tell she loves Billy. She's like all about Billy. So
of course Aunt Cheryl flips out on her just for even entering the house.
Right.
But Julie stands her ground. She stays there, and then Aunt Cheryl, one of the great scenes, gets out what must be a half a side of a cow.
Oh my God! Right.
Steak, and starts meat tenderizing it.
Yeah, and talk about foreshadowing. You see this giant meat tenderizer just sitting on the table when Julie walks in the background, like sitting in there. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, okay. Yeah. Julie is about to get tenderized, but...
which she does.
Yeah, which she does. And but my favorite line is with when she starts freaking out again. Aunt Cheryl's freaking out at Julie. She does that line. She goes, "I saw you the other night. I saw what you do." As if she makes her out to be this giant whore, when all she's doing is like so loyal to her boyfriend.
I know, it's great.
That was classic.
So anyway, here comes poor Marge again, the neighbor.
I love Marge. If I met Marge like in real life, I think I'd just give her a big hug. She's like the best neighbor.
Awesome.
She's so nice. It seems like she'd do anything for Billy and for some reason Aunt Cheryl, and she's so like is such a kind, albeit naive, which we find out, person. But
so Billy passes out again.
Yeah, poor Billy. He's passes out through half this movie. Yeah, I think he's just tired at this point.
Yeah, maybe he's just tired. But anyway, Aunt Cheryl throws Marge out after Billy comes to, and then we start getting the big reveal.
Yes.
So she tells Billy that she's his mother, and the guy in the picture was his father. And so the guy wasn't going to marry her, so she gave Billy to her brother.
Well, that's where I might be wrong. It may be her sister. I could have been wrong. I wrote that in the rundown. It may have been. I think the sister was the family.
Oh yeah. Maybe it was
like this movie has a lot of weird little pieces that they leave out, so it's kind of confusing at that point. But
yeah, and it's really easy to miss it because like some of the plot twists are very brief.
Right. It's and they're cut quickly sometimes. So.
So Marge overhears this,
right? Because Marge does not know how to leave a house when she gets a bad sign.
Like, Marge, get out of my house!
Yeah.
So Marge leaves again, but she finds Julie's camera, right? And so now another weird sequence. Cheryl is singing to Billy and Trey, trying to get him to drink milk.
Yeah, this poison milk already. Yeah, but if you notice, it's looking like a mother would give a baby. I mean, almost like drink your milk, and it's this little weird song she's singing, and really just creepy.
Yeah, so we do find out that Julie did not get her skull completely bashed in by the meat tenderizer. She's down in the basement. Yeah, she's still alive, so she
pretty
comes
resilient at this point.
Yeah, and so she discovers the shrine and the bones, but also a head in a jar.
Right, which I assume had to have been the father/boyfriend.
Right.
You can only imagine. They don't show it very long, that shot, so it's not like you could tell by the generic head that was in the picture too. So
yeah. So now we get this fantastic ending sequence where Aunt Cheryl completely goes off the rails.
Right, and this is talk about like the comparison to Pamela Voorhees. This is it.
Yeah, like this is like your entire slasher movie just in one fell swoop.
Right.
So Marge leaves.
Finally, she finally gets out of the house,
and then Cheryl jumps out of the bushes with a machete.
Right, poor Marge. If she just left 5 minutes sooner, she gets.
I told you to leave, Marge.
Yeah, she gets slashed pretty good.
Yeah. So now
my favorite scene is coming up right after this. Actually, this next sequence.
This is awesome. So Aunt Cheryl returns to the house and she realizes that Julie's awoken, right? So she's down there. But before she can attack Julie, she hears a cop coming.
Right.
Or a person coming, which we find out is the cop.
It's our good cop.
Our good cop, Cook.
Yeah.
And so she's still got the machete. This is a fantastic
This is
sequence.
So well done. It's hilarious.
So the cop comes in and he's got one of those, like the chain lights.
Yes.
Like you pull the pull chain for the light bulb. And so he goes to turn it on. And she chops his hand off.
But the hand
that's holding the chain.
Yes, that's the best part. For a split second, this hand is still holding the chain and the light goes on. It's like...
It was fantastic. I was laughing out loud.
I actually watched it twice because I loved it so much. I'm like, that is epic. I love it. It's like so creative, So who would have thought that to add that little touch of the hand still holding it?
That's like, this movie keeps throwing these unexpected little gems at you.
Right.
Yeah. So she of course kills the cop with the machete, and so Julie throws. What did she throw at her?
It was like a thing of rope that was just sitting. Yeah,
there. It was really bizarre. It was like she threw a coil of rope at her, and it was like one of those like. Aunt Cheryl was just suddenly just discombobulated.
Yeah, like she staggered back like Pamela Voorhees did when she got hit with the shovel. So it was almost like I'm wondering if Friday the 13th took some ideas from this because some of that was very similar.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where you're screaming at your television set or whatever because Julie grabs the machete and takes off running.
Right.
I'm like, turn around and use the machete.
Yeah.
This lady's trying to kill you, but she doesn't. She just takes it and runs.
Yeah, that just shows, because Julie's the good girl. She's not gonna. She's like so kind in it.
Yeah,
she doesn't want to do it. But I still would have at least I would have hit her over the head and knocked her out. I mean, she treated you like a slab of steak 10 minutes ago, and then tried to slice you in half.
Yeah, so Aunt Cheryl grabs a hatchet,
right,
and so she starts taking after Julie. And another one of these fantastic sequences.
Oh, yeah.
So Julie stumbles across poor Marge.
Again,
I know. Poor dead Marge is laying in the woods. And so Cheryl swings the axe at her and misses and chucks it right into Marge again.
Marge didn't get one more reminder that she should have left. She gets already dead, gets another chop right into her, which was just, it was so awkwardly funny that it was just... This 5 minutes to me makes the entire movie. It's so good.
Oh yes, it does. So then the next sequence is brilliant. So I guess it's like a creek or something.
Right.
So Cheryl and Julie get in this fight in the water, and I swear, bravo to whoever choreographed this thing, or if they just let them go at it. But they are wrestling and trying to hold each other's head underwater, and it looks so realistic. Like it did not look staged. Like they were really like just going at it.
Yeah, they must have it's almost as if they told one or the other that they did something horrible to their families or something, because they are really going at it.
And this is another sequence that like really made me laugh. Was she just finds a rock on the riverbed and just bangs her in the head with it?
Again, poor Julie's head already is now. She already got hit with a meat tenderizer, and now she's getting repeatedly bashed with a rock that was there.
And it was so casual. It was just like she's like just taking this rock and like bashing it against her head. I don't know why that I shouldn't find humor in that.
No, but if you guys all check this movie out, you'll see that as epic as this is, where why it's so comical at the same time. It's
so Billy wakes up and so he's going to try to call the coach.
Right, which I thought he was calling the cop, actually. I realized, but you find out later, apparently he called the coach. Right? Unless he said it. So much was going on in this sequence that I wasn't sure who he called. But
and Aunt Cheryl, boy, she's everywhere.
Yeah.
So she's already back from the creek, and she finds him and strangles him with the telephone cord.
Yeah. Poor Billy. And, obviously, you say, well, how could this woman do this? But you figure Billy's already now had about 7 glasses of poisoned milk in him, and he's barely functioning, so it's understandable that she could kind of overtake him.
And then she starts getting really like, are you calling me your girlfriend now? I'm your girlfriend now.
Yeah.
And she's like just loving it. Oh my god.
Yeah. And you've heard the term smother, as the Goldbergs references that, of a really clingy mother. That's way beyond smother.
Way beyond.
Yeah.
So she finally admits she was behind the murder and starts attacking him, and Billy grabs, I thought it was either a knife or a letter.
Yeah, I could not tell what that was. It was so darkly lit, that scene, so
he stabs her, and she kisses him as she's dying.
Yeah, on the lips, mind you. It's not like a little kiss on the cheek.
Oh, and great death scene. It was so melodramatic. She's like, her eyes are open, and then like they flutter a little bit, and then she closes them. It was fantastic.
Right.
And then we get, so the cops, as right before the cops get there, we get the classic horror movie killer comes back to life sequence.
Right, yes.
So we think Aunt Cheryl's dead, we think everything's good, Billy's got his back turned, and she just rears up from behind him, and he manages to impale her with a fireplace poker.
Yes, which just, thank God, happened to be there. And they actually, it's funny, all the, most of the weapons that Billy uses, I think, seems to get foreshadowed, because there was that whole sequence where she was burning all the letters, so there's a fireplace. So they kind of they established that there's a fireplace in there. So I'm sure if you probably rewatched it again, that the poker would be in plain view, like they kind of did with the meat tenderizer sitting in the foreground, and so
there's a lot of weapons handy around this house.
Right, which makes sense knowing when you get to know Aunt Cheryl's character.
Yeah, so of course now the cops show up, and our bad cop Carlson sees the coach helping Billy, and Julie's found. She's still alive.
How is this girl?
She's hard-headed.
She must be.
She's a hard-headed woman.
Because she has now been hit in the head so repeatedly, yet not even an ounce of blood coming out of her head. And she's totally coherent.
But, of course, Carlson, his anger is out of control at this point. So he pulls his gun on the coach and Billy, and Coach knocks the gun out of Carlson's hand, and Billy picks the gun up and shoots the cop. Right.
And up until that point, I was really, because you almost figure it was going to be that the sequence of the cop, Carlson would realize it, goes, all right, I was wrong. No, he knows what happened, and he's still going to blame it on Billy and the coach as part of this. I was
still shocked that Billy shot him.
Right, I didn't expect that.
He shot a cop.
I did not expect that. I assumed he was going to, he was just going to knock him out, and, they were going to, that was the end of it, and they were going to drag the Carlson away, and the other cop that was in there was going to drag him away, realizing, Then there's this weird closer where it, the movie
puts up a paragraph of information like this was some kind of true story or something.
Right.
And it says Billy had to stand trial and he was acquitted in 4 days due to temporary insanity, and he's now attending the University of Denver with Julie.
Right. It's a nice happy ending. After he had to go through.
It's like how they summed up like the rest of his life in one paragraph.
Yeah, and so
it just cracked me up.
Yeah, now you assume he was probably about maybe like four months away from going to college to where this movie is, I guess. Because right. So all this happened. I guess they got the trial, the acquittal, all in 4 months, and he's all happy off to college with Julie. So and at that point, it was weird that they chose it to summarize it. Like, I don't think we needed that information.
No, you could have just ended the movie.
Right.
It was like, well, even when I was looking at when we were doing the research, it said that this was based off of a book that had all this crazy backstories on all these characters, and it's just weird. It's like they were trying to make more out of this than it really needed to be.
Right. Like, and I kind of want to actually see if, I can't imagine this being easy considering how hard the movie was to find, but I'm interested in seeing if I can find the book, because I'd love to see like more of the backstory of some of those. Like, I definitely want to see more Aunt Cheryl, and I don't know, this is just a guilty pleasure of mine, but I want to know the backstory of Marge.
Yeah,
Marge was awesome.
We love Marge.
We do. It was, and it's funny. I think Marge has been in a lot of stuff. She seems like to be one of those total character actresses.
Yeah, but anyway, in summary, this movie was pretty incredible. I loved it.
I did too. As much as the uncomfortable scenes there were some just true epic horror scenes in this.
And I had never heard of this movie.
No, me neither. Until you mentioned it when we were looking for Bill Paxton movies, I had never heard of it either. And I was so I was really like surprised that this movie, and it got some acclaim. It looked like it won some awards, like some horror awards.
Yeah, there was like some I don't know how much clout. It was some like world science fiction and fantasy something awarded it best horror movie of the year 1982 or something like that. But regardless, I think it, from what I could tell, was pretty well received. Right,
it was, and that right there shows the timing period of it. That if that movie was done today, as we mentioned, I don't think it would have been well received at all.
No. So let's get into the trivia question.
And don't forget, we got to do the beer pairing, because you came up with an epic beer pairing.
Oh yeah, well, let's do the beer. We'll do the beer pairing first. So we probably should have moved this to the front. But anyway, the beer pairing for this movie is called Slap Your Mammy, and it is a double IPA from Trinity Brewing. And the reason I picked this one, other than the great title, is that it has 9 varieties of hops, which is pretty insane, just like Aunt Cheryl.
Yes. And see, have you noticed our beer pairings in the past have mostly been paired by the title? I think Tim did an excellent job of getting one that sums up the actual description of the beer summed up the perfect match for this movie.
And this is a beer I really want to try.
I know.
Sounds amazing.
I've actually believe I've had stuff from Trinity. So, if it's the same Trinity, that is, I'm pretty sure I've had something from there. So I gotta check this one out, because I definitely don't think I've had Slap Your Mammy. I would have remembered that title in a heartbeat, but I believe I had stuff from Trinity. So I'm gonna definitely look for this one.
Yeah, I've heard of them. I tried to go a little more mainstream this time, so hopefully you guys can track it down this time.
Yeah, because I tell you, I've been looking for that Manitou one, and it doesn't even look like it's a distributable beer. Probably locally.
It's probably a local brewery.
Yeah, so I figure I have some family in Colorado, so when I head down there, I'm definitely going to try and put that brewery on the map to make a trip to it, because I want to definitely see that brewery anyway. But we've sent enough Manitou. Yeah. So now you can, I guess we'll go on to the trivia question.
Yeah, so we'll go. Last week's trivia question, we asked what was the name of the real person who the movie Eaten Alive was loosely based on. And the answer to that is a man named Joe Ball, also known as the Bluebeard of the South. And he was suspected of murdering several women and feeding them to his alligators, but this was never proven. They actually found meat or flesh in his gator pit, but they never could prove that it was human meat. And his myth remains because he committed suicide shortly before being arrested in connection with the murders, which leads many to believe to think that he was guilty.
Right. Yeah, and so it's kind of funny that, I mean, we made the comparison to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was based. It was Ed Gein, right? Was the one the character that it was based. Yeah. So it's kind of funny, the little theme there that Tobe Hooper had going on early on in his career.
Yeah, he must have been doing a lot of true crime reading.
Right. Yeah, because he definitely picked two good ones, interesting ones, I should say. So, well, this week the trivia question. I mean, in all honesty, with the kind of mysterious impetus of creation to this movie, and just some of the characters and facts and name changes, there were so many trivia questions we probably could have come up with. We had a few listed there, but I wanted to think of one that was, I figure, a little bit challenging and a little obscure. So here's what it is, and it actually refers to a scene which we both loved in the film. And the question is, which notable action movie writer, director, producer, and cinematographer, he's done all of it on different action movies, worked for 1 week on this film, and he basically, that whole week, he only did the car accident decapitation scene. So, and when you hear, if you get this answer, I think you'll find it pretty interesting, because you're going to know his name. So you just would not think, I mean, in all honesty, I didn't even know he's around at this point.
Yeah, but it kind of shows how brilliant the scene is.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
or why it's so brilliant.
Right. I mean, out of all the movies we've done so far, I mean, we pretty much, I think we basically recommended them all to some degree, even Eaten Alive, which was not the greatest choice, we recommended it just for the horror chops it had by being Tobe Hooper and having Robert Englund in it. This one I would recommend wholeheartedly for any horror fan. It's just got so many good elements in it.
And probably one a lot of horror fans have not seen.
Right. So that alone, it's exciting just if you can track it down. Once you even track it down, it's definitely worth a little bit of effort trying to get a hold of this thing to watch it.
So we thank you guys for listening this week. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CivilGorePodcast. We're also on Twitter at CivilGorePod. And you can drop us a line at Gmail, civilgorepodcast@gmail.com. And as Brian mentioned earlier in the episode, we've now got an Instagram account.
Yes, and I promise it will not just be pictures of Marge.
No, although we love Marge. I want a I Love Marge t-shirt.
Yes, we should. You know what? Maybe if this podcast gets big enough and we can start licensing out some properties, maybe that'll be the first we'll go to. Yeah. We'll get a Marge t-shirt.
So, next week, we haven't decided on a movie yet, but we're probably going to try to go a little more modern. We've had, 3 movies set in the 70s and 1 in the 80s.
Yeah, at least we got out of the 70s this time.
Yeah, so we're going to try to give you guys something a little more recent for next week.
Right, and Tim and I were discussing this previously too, is, the advantage to having some of the older films. You do newer films, everyone's got, the movies come out so fast and they're on cable fast enough. But, and DVD and digital, there's so many things coming out. So we kind of want to stay away from super, super new stuff because we want to give you guys a chance to see it.
Right. And as you know, the format of our show, we basically run through the entire movie and discuss scenes. So it's going to be heavily spoiler centric. So we really wanted to try to steer clear of, completely spoiling some brand new film that just came out.
So, right. And another, and definitely, if you have any suggestions, I had mentioned this earlier, we have a lot of people, it's funny, recommending us do It, which we already have plans to do. I'll probably release it. I think we're planning for that for end of May, June, for when we're going to do It. But, if you have any other movie that you want to hear us talk about, if you enjoy the dulcet tones of Tim and my obnoxious New Yorker voice, and you just want to hear us talk about a specific movie, definitely let us know. I mean, we gave you all the ways to keep in touch with us, and we're more than happy to try something, even if we haven't seen it or if we saw it, and we'll watch it again for you. If you just want to hear us talk about it, feel free to let us know.
And I will watch just about anything, so no, I will not turn down any recommendation.
No, definitely not, and especially if it's got a funny tagline or interesting box art,
or Or a gorilla holding a snake.
Right. Which, by the way, I did get my copy in the mail of Ape 3D. So I plan to watch that over the next few days because that box art alone is worth the watch. So, and apparently the buy.
I can't wait to hear your review of that one.
Yeah, you know what? I'll definitely try and watch it before the next thing. So even if it's not a full review, it'll definitely be touched on a little bit.
All right, so we're out here, guys. Again, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Talk to you guys later.
You be good now, Billy, and don't give Auntie Cheryl any trouble. You be careful. Mommy and Daddy are going over the mountains all the way to the Pacific coast to see Grandma and Grandpa.
Remember, we had to change hotels in Cedar City.